Bill Beaumont doesn't like the bomb squad, folks, apparently. Well, that's some of the headlines that have been going about. He said he didn't want to criticize the bomb squad, but kind of ended up criticizing the bomb squad. And that's had me going down a rabbit hole all day. I've got some numbers for you about the way Rassie has been using his team's bench from 2018 through till this year, which I think will show a bit of innovation, and I think will show why the bench is such a crucial factor and why the Boks have been able to go and win back-to-back Rugby World Cups. We'll go through quickly first what Bill said, and then we'll get to those numbers, which I've been burrowing away on all day. Well, all day, a few hours. And you guys can let us know your thoughts. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, feel free to do so, because there's always more rugby stuff coming your way. And you know me, I especially love some rugby numbers. But Billy Beaumont said, my view is that we allow too many substitutes in years gone by. Games always opened up in the last 20 minutes. Games were won and lost in the last 20. Now, I would say, Bill, games these days are also won in the last 20 minutes for sure, but the impact from the bench is often a large reason as to why teams win or lose games. I would say the bench for the Boks in 2018 was something of an area of weakness, and they absolutely flipped it into an area of strength. My All Blacks, their current year, I think has been partially plagued by poor management of the bench. It is absolutely a very important skill for coaches to manage with the kind of current number of players allowed on the bench. He also said the bomb squad are very effective of what they do. I will not criticize them. But, and there's a but, maybe they would run for a bit longer or a bit farther. So yeah, there's a but when he says he won't criticize them. Interesting way to get your point across. It's a hard one, man. I mean, I've heard this argument made before. Fewer players means the guys are going to get more tired. We're going to get smaller players. We're also, are you going to get more injuries? Because we've got to focus on, tackling safely. Are tired players more likely to put in dangerous tackles? Possibly. We'd need to see some numbers on that. So you can be for or against the reduced substitutes by Billy, if you want. I don't mean to call him Billy as a sir, isn't he? But you know what I mean. I want to get to Rassie's numbers, because I love, one thing I love about rugby is there is room for teams to innovate and coaches to do smart stuff. Like, remember when the Italians did that kind of no offside at the ruck thing by not committing players a few years ago? That was innovative until they got it kind of banned. Like the way the Irish do their quick recycle ball tactics and keep teams from being unable to set a defensive line. That's really fun to watch. And then the Boks, they turned their bench from a weakness in 2018, I think, to an advantage. 2018, we're going to have a look and see how they've used the bench. We'll start with the average time the bench players came on the field. Back in 2018, the average time a substitute would come on is around 58 minutes. So you basically know that if you're a sub, you're probably going to get around about 20 minutes, 22 minutes of game time, right? You'll notice over the course of his tenure, Rassie has increased the time that subs get every year. 58, 57, 55, 54, 52, 51. Subs are coming on earlier and earlier because you're able to get more out of these fresh guys on the bench. It makes a lot of sense. I think in the past, teams have been reluctant to do that because if you've got your star player and then your second player who's not as good, the idea being your star player on the field is still probably better than the replacement, even at 100%, even if your star player is only 80% because he's been running around for 60 minutes. Well, the Springboks back their replacements to add value more and more each year, year on year. It is a consistent trend. What about the front row? Because that's kind of one area that we see the bomb squad really highlighted. It's not quite as year on year trending, but overall the trend is still the front rowers on the bench are getting more and more minutes each year. 56, 53, 46 is kind of an outlier, then 52, 52, 50. So it is still trending down. There's an outlier there in 2021, as I mentioned. That's an area where Like, there was a few games in 2021 where they would really pull the trigger on the bomb squad early. Like, there was one game, I think it was against New Zealand, where they brought all the front row off on 38 minutes. So the replacements actually got more time than the starting guys. Whereas they went not quite that extreme in the following years, but the trend is still largely tracking that the front rowers come on earlier and earlier. You don't really see the box occasionally, but not really having to leave a prop on for 70 minutes. Like the All Blacks had that issue in this Rugby Championship, right? I think Tyrell Lomax played right until the end of the game because they didn't trust the replacement to be brought on. He ended up getting himself yellow carded because he was tired. Lazy tackle when you're tired. Player safety. Don't know. What about unused players? This is one where I feel like you see an absolutely drastic change. In that first year, and this is why I say mainly area of weakness in 2018, there were across, how many games did they play in 2018? Was it 14 or 13? There were 11 times players were unused on that Springbok bench, and 4 of those times was the scrum half. I think it was usually Herschel Yankees. It might have been Ross Cronje once. But yeah, Faf de Klerk regularly played 80 minutes, and the scrum half replacement's average time to come on was 72 minutes. So if you were the replacement number 9, you're lucky to get 10 minutes, 8 minutes, basically. So that changes big time. The very next year, they go down from 11 to 7, and 3 of those 7 who remain unused subs as in a Rugby World Cup game against Canada. And that was more just resting players you don't need to exert because the World Cup has back-to-back games in quick succession, so the players get tired. So the World Cup year would have bumped up the amount of unused players because Rassie was certainly trusting the bench more in his second year. Like the scrum half time went from 72 minutes as the average time guys come on to 63, which was kind of the remains throughout the rest of the tenure. So normal. They trusted the other guys to come on. Then one in 2021, I think that was Elton Yankees. 2022, I think it was Warwick Galant. And then 2023 spikes back up to 3 players unused. But again, 2 of those are in a World Cup match against Romania, where Rassie just figures don't need to, maybe it's Jacques Nienaber, but I'm going to say Rassie, don't need to overexert the guys that need rest. And then thus far this year, all the subs have managed to get on the field when they have been playing. So trust in the bench, more minutes in the bench has been a massive part of Rassie's time with the Boks. Then there's the structure of the bench, which is the one that gets the most headlines. It's not just about the minutes they play, it's about how many backs and how many forwards does he have on the bench. Traditional one is 5-3. They've also been known to go with the 6-2, even the 7-1. If we look at it year on year, 2018, every game is the traditional 5-3 split. No kind of innovation, no triggers pulled in that area. But by 2019, we are seeing a taste of the 6-2 split. It's not quite 50-50. They still play the 5-3 more often than they do the 6-2, but they are quite happy to go with the 6-2. 2021, pretty similar. They still prefer the 5-3, but they pull out the 6-2 when needed. And then 2022 is the first year where we see the forwards kind of take over. That's the first year where we see they prefer games where they have more forwards on the bench to backs. 62-38 is the kind of percentages. Then 2023 is another innovation, and that we see our first use of the 7-1, which caused way too many headlines because it's still a massive gamble to go with a 7-1. What if one of your backs gets injured really early? It is a massive gamble. But they went with it. They did it against New Zealand. Remember when I think it was LaRue got injured not long before the game, so they put Cocker Smith in the 23 jersey. They did it against Ireland, and they did it in the World Cup final. So they did a couple or 3 7-1 splits. They did a few 6-2s, and then just under half the games were still the 5-3s. This year, we are sitting at 50-50 between 6-2 and 5-3. We haven't seen them go back to the 7-1 just yet. But yeah, over the course of Rassie's time with the Boks, they have gone from totally traditional 5-3, just doing what everyone else is doing, to absolutely mixing it up, picking the team that is best to get the win on the given day. And yeah, I just like seeing coaches think out of the box, man. It's part of what makes the game what it is for mine. So, yeah, Rassie's made some changes over his time with the Boks. Will they reduce the amount of substitutes? I don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. I know that's what Bill has said, but Bill's on the way out anyway. He's coming to the end of his term. I can see why sometimes South African fans get frustrated with World Rugby when you hear stuff like this coming out. It seems to be kind of directly targeting. Like, even though he says, I'm not trying to criticize the bomb squad, but then basically just criticizes the bomb squad directly in his next sentence. I can see why that gets a little bit, raises a few heckles with South African fans anyway. And who knows what Rassie is going to do next? He's changed the way he deploys the team with the minutes. He's changed the way he has the makeup of the bench. He's done other things as well, but I just love seeing that in data form so that we can see what he is doing with the side. Will other coaches continue to kind of follow suit, or will they be looking to think outside the box themselves? That's kind of one of the things, isn't it? It's the challenge of being a head coach of an international team. I should say quickly, I hope there's no mistakes in the data. I did double check it and triple check it. When I double checked it, I found a mistake. And when I triple checked it, I still found a mistake. Hopefully it's more or less correct. I'm only one man, and it's like 9 o'clock at night. I've been looking at data for far too long. But anyway, you guys take care. Talk to you again soon.